Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session on gardening with us. Today's session is about monsoon plants that you can grow at home very, very easily. Now, in these times of COVID, when all of us are stuck at home and we're wondering what to do, we're wondering how to keep ourselves occupied, I said, let me put this together for everybody so you can understand exactly how to go about gardening and what are the best plants to choose for pretty much any home. So a couple of things. My name is Kavya. I run a green venture, and we've turned our focus to gardening a lot in the last couple of months to make everybody understand how they can grow, keep, propagate, and take care of easy plants, even to an extent of growing your own greens and vegetables. Okay. So in today's session, I'm going to take you guys through monsoon plants, also take you through my garden, which I take care and keep myself, and make you understand exactly how easy it is to grow, maintain, and just to enjoy, different species of plants. So I'm going to be talking about today is one which is actually very popular and very beautiful to have and to maintain. Okay, so this one which I have right here is called as the fiddle leaf fig. It belongs to the ficus family, and I picked this up about a month ago. And one of the things which I have realized when it comes to any kind of indoor plants, and this is where this species lies in, it's an indoor plant variety, is that you need to keep a check on the humidity level of the environment, which basically means that the humidity level needs to be a little higher when you are keeping plants. And this plant especially, like, can you see this? So the leaves had started dropping, and I just shifted this into a humid environment, and it started bouncing back very, very quickly. Watering only when required, and in a couple of weeks I'm just going to shift this plant into a bigger pot, because they can grow up to 6-7 feet high, even more in fact, over time. So humidity, partial sunlight to bright sunlight is enough, and but lots and lots of humidity and watering when required. So right now the soil is dry, so I'm going to give this a good water down today at some point. Okay, the other plants that we have that we've been taking care of and we've been watching grow bigger and bigger. So this is my all-time favorite. It's called as the spider plant, and I highly recommend everybody keeping this plant because it gives out a lot of oxygen. It's very, very good for a home space. If you have some kind of balcony near your bedroom window or near your living room space, you can just hang these up in those hanging pots, and they like to be watered in the morning. One thing I have realized when it comes to this plant, and it also loves a little bit of humidity. So make sure that you water this every couple of days. We get a lot of questions about our potting mix. Okay, now my potting mix is something which I have really looked at closely and understood to a very, very large extent. We ensure that there are lots and lots of microorganisms, which ensures that the soil is a living soil. So I use a mix of organic manure, vermicompost or plain compost, coco peat, neem powder. These are the 3-4 variations that I have, and I mix them together. So my potting mix is very nutrient rich or microbe rich, and that is what is required for all these indoor plant species or monsoon plants that we're explaining today. So there you have it, spider plant. This one was a small little baby. So if you have this plant, you might see new plants coming out. So all you have to do is take out the what we call as pups and put them into the soil, and you can get a new plant in a couple of weeks time. It's that easy to do. Okay, the next plant that I have over here is something which I really love and which I believe is really good for an indoor home environment. This is called as the jade plant species. It actually belongs to the succulent varieties in plants, but I feel it's much easier to keep and maintain, and it also grows really, really well if you give it a lot of bright light. It also loves the early morning sun. So this is called as the jade plant, and it's known to give out a lot of positive vibes. It's known to be very good. In fact, when you see it, you feel happier. And I don't know about, there is a lot of science which goes behind plants like pothos and plants like jade, but this one definitely does very, very well in the house. It's very hardy species. So what I also do is I propagate the plants. So I just cut them over here and stick this part into some soil, and you let it be, and in a couple of weeks time it'll start developing new leaves. So jade plant is very easily available in most of the nurseries. You can pick this up. It likes to have a soil which is in between, not very moist and not very dry. So make sure that you water this every couple of days, but make sure that you put it outside because it loves the early morning sun. Okay, the next plant, which I'm sure a lot of you all already know about, this is called as pothos. Now the one thing I want to really mention about pothos is that it loves a humid environment. Okay, so you can keep it in a space where the temperature is a little high and where you also get a little bit of draft, a little bit of air, not too much of wind, just a little bit is enough. So if you feel, for example, that your pothos is not doing very well, that it's looking a little, it's not growing as it should be, you can put it into a humid environment, okay, and make sure that it gets enough of bright light. And I've also realized that pothos doesn't like a very wet soil. It doesn't like a very wet soil. It likes a slightly dry soil. So let this dry out 3 to 4 days and then you water it. What I've also noticed, folks, is when you keep plants inside, they require less watering because they're not exposed to the sun and they're not exposed to air. These are two factors which dry out the soil a lot faster. So this is actually bouncing back really well. This plant wasn't doing that well a few weeks ago. I just shifted this indoors into a slightly humid environment, into a hot area, and it's doing extremely well. Okay, so another plant that we would really like to talk about today, another one of our favorites, is aloe vera, this variety. And aloe vera is one of the easiest, hardiest and most beneficial plants to keep and to have. First of all, it gives out a large amount of oxygen. Okay, so you must keep this in an area where you probably rest a lot or sleep a lot. You can keep this in your bedroom, you can keep this in your guest room. Okay, and this doesn't like too much of water, so give it water once in about 10 to 12 days. If you're keeping it inside, once in 15 days is enough. Okay, and it doesn't like too much of sunlight, so it's a very hardy plant and it gives out a lot of oxygen. It doesn't require too much of watering.